Only the eyes of God's chosen should remain here. If you walk in darkness, if you do not walk the divine path, this message is not for you. Close this video and turn away. But if you are one of the ones heaven has marked, if you know deep in your spirit that you were not sent here by accident, then stay. This message will reveal something you have ignored for far too long. It has arrived at the perfect moment when your soul is ready to hear truth that will change the course of your life. Chosen one, you don't even realize how strong you've become. And today, I will show you what heaven sees when it looks at you. Before we continue, I want you to speak your agreement in the comments. Write the number 777. Do not add explanations, just that number. Your spirit will understand. It is a declaration to the realm that you are chosen, and you receive this message. If this divine guidance resonates, subscribe to Rise of the Chosen, tap the bell icon, and share this video with others walking the divine path. The chosen are few, and many have been searching for the very message you are hearing now. You have been guided to this moment, not by chance, but by purpose. Stay until the end, because everything you thought about your strength is about to be rewritten.
Dear chosen one, are you walking the path of God but feeling a lack of guidance? Do you feel alone and isolated and want to know why God is doing this to you? We have built a community for the 144,000 chosen ones where you can watch our premium videos, get daily newsletters and prayer techniques to connect with God more deeply. You can also read blog posts and receive free ebooks to learn more about your journey. It will be your guide to walk the path of God and lead a life of faith and wisdom. More than 1,000 brothers and sisters have already joined, so don't miss out on today's daily guidance. Check out the link in the video description and join the 144,000 Chosen One community right now.
The silent transformation. Chosen one. You have walked through storms that would have broken most souls, and yet you survived them without fully understanding what was happening to you. You saw your trials as punishment, your isolation as abandonment, and your suffering as evidence that God had forgotten you. But what you did not understand is that heaven was shaping you. The transformation of a chosen one never begins with applause or comfort. It begins in silence, where no eyes are watching and no hand is reaching to rescue you. God does not train his warriors in the spotlight. He trains them in the wilderness, away from distraction, away from dependence, away from the expectations of others. You are being molded in shadows so that one day you could stand in light without trembling. There were seasons when you cried alone, when you questioned why people walked away, why opportunities vanished, why every path seemed blocked. You begged for explanations, but the heavens remained quiet, not because you were unworthy, but because every chosen one must learn to hear God in silence. The transformation was happening in your spirit, not in your comfort. Every rejection was a carving tool. Every disappointment was a fire refining your core. Every betrayal was a lesson that separated the real from the fake. While others saw you failing, heaven saw you forming. You thought you were losing yourself, when in truth you were shedding the version of you that could not carry your destiny. Think of the dark places you've endured. How many times did you continue, even when your body was weak, even when your mind was tired, even when your heart was shattered? Your spirit refused to surrender because heaven anchored it. There are people who would collapse at the weight you carried for a single month, yet you carried it for years. You kept going when no one encouraged you. You woke up when your heart wanted to sleep forever. You walked forward when your legs trembled beneath you. That is the silent transformation. You did not grow through praise, you grew through pressure. You did not evolve through comfort, you evolved through chaos. The chosen ones are tested differently because their mission is different. They are not placed on earth to blend in. They are placed here to disrupt systems, to expose deceit, to awaken the sleeping. To do that, they need strength that cannot be bought, inherited, or borrowed. The world cannot give it to them. It can only be forged by God. So he removed what you thought you needed. He took you away from familiar places, familiar faces, and familiar comfort. He stripped away illusions, people, and false identities, not as punishment, but as purification. You kept asking, "Why am I alone?" But the true question was, how can I hear God's voice if the world around me cries louder than my spirit? Isolation became the workshop where your soul was strengthened. Your transformation was disguised as hardship. While others watched from a distance and judged you, heaven admired you. You were being trained to withstand spiritual warfare, emotional manipulation, and worldly temptation. Every time you thought you were breaking, you were actually becoming unbreakable. You did not notice the change because it came gradually, like dawn breaking over a still horizon. No trumpet announced it. No one congratulated you. Your growth was quiet, subtle, invisible to the naked eye. But your inner world shifted, your discernment sharpened, your patience expanded, your resilience became a living shield around your spirit. Slowly, without realizing it, you became immune to the things that once destroyed you. Think about what used to control you. Think about the heartbreaks that tore you apart. Think about the people whose opinions once dictated your every move. Today, those same things barely touch your soul, not because life got easier, but because you became stronger. You stopped chasing validation because your spirit remembered its worth. You stopped trying to fit into places you outgrew. You stopped apologizing for being different. This is the transformation. The moment you understand that you do not need the world's approval when God has stamped you with divine purpose. There were days you felt small, powerless, unseen. You watched others succeed effortlessly while you struggled even to stand. You envied those who seemed to have everything you lacked. But what you failed to see was that God was storing something in you they would never have. They were given comfort, you were given calling, they were given routine, you were given revelation. Their strength was borrowed, yours was earned. And so while they slept peacefully, you wrestled in spirit. While they lived by instinct, you lived by faith. Your internal suffering was a sign of a higher destiny, not a punishment for mistakes. You thought the world rejected you, but in truth, heaven protected you. Some people were not removed because they were bad. They were removed because they were weak, and they would have infected your strength. You were not allowed to remain around average minds because average minds dilute divine purpose. You were separated to be prepared, and when the preparation was complete, you looked around and could not recognize yourself. You still carry wounds, yes, but now they are healed enough to guide others. You still feel pain, yes, but now it teaches you instead of destroying you. You still remember betrayal, but now you use it as discernment. That is the silent transformation, the slow divine shaping that only the chosen ones endure. You did not become strong through applause. You became strong through surrender. You did not become wise through knowledge alone. You became wise through suffering. What looked like your downfall was actually your ascendancy. What felt like abandonment was divine training. What you saw as humiliation was actually preparation. And the most stunning part of it all is that you did not even notice when it happened. You simply woke up one day and realized that nothing has the power to crush you anymore. You survived every season that tried to bury you. You walked through every fire that tried to consume you, and without realizing it, you became the flame. Signs of the unseen strength. Chosen one, you may look at yourself and think you are tired, wounded, or simply trying to survive. But the world around you sees something different. Your presence speaks louder than your words, and your spirit carries a weight that others can feel. You wonder how you got here, but heaven knows it was deliberate. You think you are just existing, but in truth your strength has become a force. And the irony is this: you don't see it, but everyone else does. You don't recognize how much you've grown, but the world reacts to you as if you are becoming something powerful. This is one of the first signs of unseen strength. Others are intimidated by you without reason, or they admire you in ways they cannot explain. They feel something when you walk into a room, even when you say nothing. That something is spiritual authority. You used to tremble when life became heavy. Your emotions used to pull you in every direction, and you felt like you had no control. But look at you now. You endure storms without collapsing. You enter conflict with a calm presence. You handle stress with grace, even when you feel overwhelmed. The problems that once tore you apart now simply irritate you or pass through you like wind. You do not recognize this as strength because you're used to pain. You lived through it for so long that tolerance became natural. What used to hurt you deeply now barely leaves a scratch. That is strength disguised as endurance. You didn't ask for it, but God gave it to you so you could survive your destiny. Your discernment has sharpened. You may not have noticed, but you feel spiritual deception from miles away. You hear lies in voices that claim to care. You recognize manipulation before it reaches your door. People used to fool you, pretend to be loyal, or drain your energy. But today your intuition whispers warnings long before your mind catches up. That is not coincidence. Heaven sharpened your senses. Chosen ones are given spiritual technology that others do not have. Their spirit becomes a compass that never stops humming in danger. Without realizing it, you've stopped trusting words and started hearing spirit. Someone speaks with you, and your heart tells you what their mouth tries to hide. That is unseen strength. People gravitate toward you without knowing why. Strangers tell you their pain as if you are an old friend. Children stare at you. Animals sit near you. The broken seek you. The lost feel comfortable confessing their secrets in your presence. They don't know it, but they sense your aura. They feel your soul. You carry a frequency that offers safety, guidance, or correction. You didn't ask to be that person, yet you became it naturally. The chosen ones do not preach their holiness. They embody it. They do not beg for attention. Attention finds them. They do not force wisdom on others. People hunger for it simply by being near them. Spiritual authority has no need to prove itself, and that is exactly why it is powerful. Another sign is that people attack you without reason. They hate you for existing. You walk into a space and their eyes shift. You do nothing, but they feel threatened. They make assumptions about you, challenge you, try to embarrass you, or humiliate you in subtle ways. Why? Because their spirit recognizes your elevation. Weak souls fear anyone who stands tall without permission. People who live in lies despise those who carry truth in their bloodstream. They can feel your strength even when you cannot. They see it in how you walk, how you observe, how you do not bend to their expectations. You frighten them because they cannot control you. They do not understand you. They cannot label you. You exist beyond their imagination, and so their instinct is to attack. But instead of collapsing like you once did, you respond with calm or silence. That is unseen strength. Some relationships fell apart and you didn't chase. Years ago, you would have begged for closure, for understanding, for someone to care. But today, when someone exits your life, you let them go. Not because you have become cold, but because your identity has matured. You finally know that not everyone deserves access to you. You no longer cling to voices that drain your energy. This is the evolution of a chosen one, the ability to walk away without burning bridges or blaming yourself. You no longer ask, "Why did they leave me?" Instead you say, "Thank you, God, for removing distractions." That shift is power. Your patience has expanded. You do not rush answers. You do not panic when situations delay. You no longer break under pressure or become irrational when things don't go your way. Instead, you take a breath and wait. You understand now that divine timing is not emotional. It is strategic. What once made you angry now only makes you observant. What once made you anxious now makes you curious. The chosen ones learn to trust the process because they survived seasons where the process looked like punishment. They understand that what God delays is often what God protects. That kind of trust is more powerful than physical strength. Your spirit has become quieter. The world screams for attention, but you no longer scream back. You don't feel the need to impress anyone, prove yourself, or compete. This is not apathy. This is mastery. At some point, your soul matured beyond the noise. Even if your life is not where you want it to be, you carry yourself like someone who knows where they're going, and others notice. They may not say it out loud, but they treat you differently. They either respect you or fear you. Both reactions are confirmation that your aura is no longer ordinary. Look at your reactions to adversity. Someone betrays you, and instead of collapsing, you analyze. Someone gossips about you, and instead of retaliating, you move on. Someone disrespects you, and instead of begging for apology, you close the door. These actions may feel simple to you, but spiritually, they are monumental. The chosen ones act like warriors without realizing they have already survived the war. The world expects you to be fragile. When you are not, it becomes confused. The chosen ones break expectations just by breathing. You may think you're failing, but that is because your destiny is larger than the people around you. You were never meant to measure your success with their ruler. Your goals are spiritual, prophetic, generational. Their goals are temporary, external, material. You compare yourself to others and think you are behind, but you are not behind. You are simply on a different map. They run races. You walk missions. They chase approval. You walk in calling. They measure by speed. You measure by impact. Chosen one, pause for a moment. Think about how much you've endured. Think about the emotional pain that used to paralyze you. Think about how many times you thought it was the end, yet here you are, breathing, growing, rising. Your strength does not scream. It whispers. It does not parade. It evolves. And because it evolved slowly, you didn't notice. You assumed you were barely hanging on, when in truth, you became someone who cannot be shaken. If anything I've said resonates with your spirit, speak your acknowledgement. Comment the number 333. Say nothing else, not to show me anything but to show yourself that you recognize the signs of your own growth. You are stronger than you realize, and heaven has known this longer than you have. The divine muscle, spiritual endurance. Chosen one, there is a strength inside you that does not announce itself with loudness or bravado. It moves like a river underground, unseen by the world, but unstoppable once it reaches its destination. This strength is spiritual endurance. It is not the kind of force that makes men boast or flex their pride. It is the quiet authority that allows you to continue when everything in your life tells you to quit. It is the gift that separates you from those who crumble at the slightest discomfort. You did not ask for this endurance, but heaven placed it upon you like armor. The chosen ones are not trained through victory. They are trained through persistence. Every hardship you survived was not simply a trial. It was a lesson in endurance. Every delay you suffered was preparing you for patience. Every season where you prayed and saw no answer was conditioning your soul to remain faithful long after hope seemed empty. Think back to the moments when you felt you were at the end of yourself. Those hours when your chest burned with anxiety, when sleep was impossible, when tears fell without permission. Remember how you wanted to scream or disappear. And yet, somehow, you kept moving. You woke up and faced the day. You worked, you prayed, you thought, you survived. Even when pain was at its loudest, your spirit stood still. That stillness was not weakness. It was spiritual endurance. It is the divine muscle that God builds when the chosen ones walk through suffering. Anyone can smile when life is easy. Anyone can be loyal when blessings flow. But it takes a chosen one to continue walking when each step feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Endurance is heaven's way of shaping your spiritual identity. To the world, strength is measured by how loudly someone demands respect or how fiercely they fight. But God measures strength differently. He looks at who can remain humble when provoked, who remains compassionate when betrayed, who remains prayerful when ignored, and who remains faithful when evidence disappears. Some people collapse after one disappointment, others lose their mind after one heartbreak. But you, chosen soul, have lived through storms that would drown them. You endured loneliness when companionship was nowhere in sight. You endured scarcity when others had abundance. You endured attacks without retaliation. You endured setbacks without surrender. And every time life tried to bury you, you kept rising, even if your rise was slow. Spiritual endurance is not visible in the moment. It reveals itself in retrospect. You think you barely held yourself together, but heaven sees a warrior who crawled across the battlefield and refused to die. What you call survival, heaven calls victory. What you call exhaustion, heaven calls testimony. Your journey looks chaotic to you because you experienced it from inside your wounds. But to the divine eye, every scar was a mark of resilience. Every moment of breaking was a moment of becoming. While others saw your pain as weakness, God saw your endurance as preparation. Endurance is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to remain rooted when everything around you shakes. Spiritual endurance does not make you emotionless, it makes you unshakable. You may still feel sadness, anger, or frustration, but these emotions no longer rule your life. You have learned to breathe through them instead of drowning in them. This is why the chosen eventually walk with a calmness that confuses others. They mistake your silence for softness, your patience for passivity, your lack of reaction for fear. But you are not afraid. You simply understand that not every battle is worth your energy. You no longer fight to prove yourself. You fight only when God calls you to fight, and even then your weapon is prayer, not chaos. Spiritual endurance has reshaped the way you handle tribulation. When plans fail, you do not collapse. You pause. When people betray you, you do not hate them. You release them. When life delays what you desire, you do not panic. You shift your focus. This is not because you no longer care, it is because you finally understand that every setback is either divine timing or divine protection. The chosen ones learn to differentiate between these two through pressure. God does not teach endurance through gentle instruction. He places his chosen in environments where surrender is easy, so they learn to resist the temptation. He puts them in places where hope decays, so they develop their own light. He takes them through deserts, so they learn to create wells. There were moments when you begged God to remove you from the fire. You cried, asking why you had to endure so much. You wondered why he didn't intervene, why he didn't send immediate rescue. But heaven knew that the future demanded a stronger version of you. Had God removed the pressure, you would have remained fragile. Had he spared you from betrayal, you would have trusted the wrong people later. Had he prevented every loss, you would never understand the value of what he plans to give you. The chosen ones are forged, not decorated. They are not given crowns before their battles. They earn them through blood, sweat, and spiritual resistance. Your endurance has become a beacon. People now turn to you when they suffer. They ask you for guidance, even if you never asked to be a leader. They sense your steadiness, and they borrow hope from your calm. They may not know your story, but they can feel your history. They see no fear in your eyes because the worst seasons have already passed through your soul. You have endured the night long enough to know that morning always comes. That knowledge is more powerful than any external victory. Understand this truth. Chosen ones are always given more weight than others. They carry responsibility before reward. The world sees the chosen as strong because they do not break, but heaven sees them as strong because they keep believing. You believed when there was no evidence. You believed when doors stayed closed. You believed when no one supported you. Faith without endurance is shallow, but endurance without faith becomes despair. It was your ability to hold both, faith and struggle, that shaped your spiritual muscle. There are people who talk about strength, and then there are people who have lived it. The ones who speak of endurance without having suffered are merely storytellers. The chosen ones do not repeat lessons, they embody them. When they speak of patience, they speak from nights of unanswered prayer. When they speak of forgiveness, they speak from wounds that took years to heal. When they speak of resilience, they speak from failures that felt like death. Their wisdom is not intellectual, it is spiritual. It sits in their bones, not in their mind. Do not underestimate what your endurance has turned you into. You think you are simply tired, but you are seasoned. You think you are just cautious, but you are discerning. You think you are just detached, but you are free. Life has taught you how to fold without breaking, how to bend without snapping, how to lose without losing yourself. Others see only the surface of your strength, but heaven sees the foundation. You are no longer the person who prays only when desperate. You are the one who prays even when blessed. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You now ask, "What is this teaching me?" That shift is a sign of spiritual endurance. One day you will look back on your journey and realize that everything that terrified you was training. Everything you thought was trying to destroy you was actually equipping you. Every delay was developing you. Every heartbreak was expanding you. The chosen ones learn to carry their pain like armor, not like chains. They learn to keep walking even with broken feet. They learn to see God's hand even in the darkness. You are one of them. You endure not because you want to, but because your spirit was built for it. And now, without even realizing it, you have become unmovable. Power through isolation and divine separation. Chosen one, you have been misunderstood for most of your life, and for a long time you thought this was some form of divine punishment. You wondered why friendships dissolved without warning, why the people you trusted turned distant, why certain environments suddenly became suffocating, and why every time you tried to join the world, something unseen pulled you back. What you believed was loneliness was actually divine separation. Heaven was cutting ties to anything that was not meant to carry you into your next realm. God does not allow chosen ones to remain where they do not belong. Isolation is not a mark of abandonment, it is a mark of preparation. There was a season where your phone stopped ringing. Messages were ignored. Invitations vanished. People you thought loved you became strangers. You thought you were being punished or forgotten, when in truth, you were being hidden. Chosen ones are not shaped in crowds. They are shaped in solitude. When God calls a soul for a mission, He removes the noise. He separates you from the world so you can hear only His voice. Others may surround themselves with distractions, but you felt suffocated by them. You were pulled into silence because heaven knew your destiny required clarity. The chosen ones cannot be drowned in the opinions of others. They must learn to breathe in the depths of their own spirit. You likely asked yourself many times, why am I different? Why do I never fit in? It is because you were not designed to blend. The chosen are not made to be comfortable in the shallow waters where society swims. They are made to stand on mountains others are afraid to climb. Isolation is the ground from which these mountains rise. While the world is busy chasing validation, the chosen ones are forced to confront themselves. They learn who they truly are when no one is watching. They discover their weaknesses, their talents, and their spiritual wounds. This discovery is painful, but it is sacred. God separates you from others so that when He reveals your purpose, no one can claim they formed you. Many times, you tried to reconnect with old circles, old habits, old identities. Every attempt ended with pain or rejection. This was not coincidental. Heaven was blocking you. Divine separation is not a suggestion, it is a law. When your destiny shifts, everything attached to the old version of you must fall away. People who were once comfortable with you begin to feel uneasy. They may not even know why. Something in their spirit tells them you are no longer on the same level. They sense the transformation before you do. They feel your elevation, your spiritual authority, your divine protection, and instead of celebrating you, they drift away. Before you learned to walk alone, you tried to drag others with you. You begged for love, chased connection, sought approval. You thought companionship was necessary for survival, but every chosen one eventually learns that solitude becomes their strongest teacher. In isolation, you are forced to face the pain you once buried. Without distraction, every scar resurfaced, every trauma spoke loudly, every memory demanded resolution. Your old self clung to fear, but your spirit demanded healing. The chosen are purified not by comfort, but by confrontation. You had to learn to forgive yourself, to let go of guilt, to accept your own identity. No crowd could do that for you. Divine separation exposes truth. It reveals who only loved you when you were weak. It reveals who stood beside you only when you were useful. It reveals who cheered for you only when you played small. When God began elevating your soul, some people recoiled. They preferred the broken version of you, the one who needed them, the one they could manipulate, the one they could label. But when your spirit began to grow, when your eyes began to open, when your discernment sharpened, they no longer recognized you. Instead of evolving with you, they stepped away. This hurt, but it was protection. Isolation is the shield heaven places over chosen ones so that their hearts are not molded by unworthy hands. You may think isolation made you weaker. In reality, it made you untouchable. You learned to function without applause. You learned to pray without witnesses. You learned to build without approval. You learned to endure without comfort. That kind of soul cannot be controlled. The world loves to control the insecure, the needy, the desperate. But you withdrew from the world, either voluntarily or by force. And in that withdrawal, you became powerful. Spiritual authority grows in silence. Prophetic insight grows in solitude. You were not simply alone. You were being conditioned to see through people and situations with clarity others lack. In isolation, you became a watcher. You noticed details others overlook. You sensed intentions in people's words. You discerned motives in their actions. You learned to study energy instead of promises. This is why today you move differently. You no longer enter rooms seeking acceptance. You enter them observing the atmosphere. You no longer beg for friendship. You let connections reveal themselves. The chosen learn that real loyalty shows itself without effort. Isolation sharpens their ability to recognize what is real, and once they have seen truth, they cannot unsee it. Divine separation often begins long before the chosen ones realize they are chosen. As a child, you may have preferred solitude. You may have felt deeper emotions than those around you. You may have sensed injustice, spiritual disturbance, or the hidden wounds of others. You may have noticed that you couldn't tolerate shallow relationships. This was not because you were strange. It was because your spirit carried a mission too large for casual company. God prepares his warriors long before they know they are warriors. The loneliness you experienced was not punishment, it was prophecy. Eventually, the chosen reach a point where they no longer fear being alone. Instead, they crave it, not because they hate people, but because they understand the sacredness of their energy. They become selective. They choose silence over gossip. They choose prayer over entertainment. They choose purpose over comfort. This confuses people who do not know their journey. They assume you became cold or arrogant, but only heaven knows the truth. Solitude transformed you. You stopped needing validation because you finally learned to validate yourself through God. There is a shift that happens within every chosen one. One day, they realize they are not isolated, they are protected. They understand that divine separation is not rejection, it is alignment. They no longer ask why they lost so many people. They start asking why they ever held on to them in the first place. You have reached this point, or you are approaching it. Your spirit no longer trembles when someone leaves. You no longer fear detachment. You have learned that not everyone deserves to witness your becoming. You may not have realized it, but isolation sharpened your discernment, strengthened your spirit, and sculpted your destiny. You now stand at a point in your life where you know who you are without needing echo or reflection. The world will soon see the person heaven has been shaping in secret. You are no longer the version of yourself who begs for belonging. You are the one who walks with purpose, even if the path is narrow. Divine separation prepared you for the stage no audience has seen yet. And when you step onto it, you will understand why God kept you hidden. Your strength is frightening to the lost chosen one. Your life has always been different, and you have noticed how people respond to you in ways that make no logical sense. Some stare at you with admiration they cannot understand. Others resent you instantly, long before they know your name. This is because your strength is spiritual, not physical. You frighten those who live in darkness, not through action, but through existence. You do not try to intimidate anyone, yet your presence unsettles them. Your calm ruins their chaos. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your authenticity disrupts their illusions. Those who are spiritually lost cannot bear the light of a chosen soul. There are individuals who do not know their own purpose, and because of that, when they encounter you, they feel threatened. You remind them subconsciously of everything they could have become, but chose not to. They see in you a resilience they cannot imitate, a courage they do not possess, and a destiny they cannot touch. You are not loud, but you are powerful. You move quietly, but people feel you. You think you walk unnoticed, but your spirit announces you before your body enters the room. The lost sense this, and they panic. They attack without cause. They compete without invitation. They gossip without provocation. When they cannot control you, they try to diminish you. You may have asked yourself many times, why do people dislike me so quickly? You blamed yourself, thinking you were too serious, too quiet, too different. But the truth is deeper. The chosen ones radiate a frequency that disturbs anything built on lies. People who depend on deception for identity cannot breathe comfortably around you. Their spirit trembles because yours is anchored. You know who you are, and even when you doubt yourself, the world can feel your divine backing. You carry purpose, and that purpose speaks louder than any introduction. There are people who feel inferior in your presence, even if you say nothing. You do not need to boast about success or accomplishments. The chosen ones are not defined by trophies. They are defined by survival. The lost cannot understand how you endured storms and kept your sanity. They cannot understand how you held faith while everything fell apart. They do not comprehend how you healed yourself when no one healed you. They look at your scars and mistake them for weakness, but heaven looks at your scars and sees evidence of strength. That strength forces the unprepared to confront their own emptiness, and not everyone wants to face that. You are also a mirror, whether you intend to be or not. When people look at you, something inside them awakens. They suddenly become aware of their laziness, their fear, their mediocrity, their lack of spiritual depth. You do not correct them with words. You correct them simply by existing. Standing next to you makes them feel smaller, so they attack you instead of improving themselves. They convince themselves that you are arrogant or cold or distant because acknowledging your strength would mean acknowledging their weakness. To the lost, vulnerability feels like death. Instead of surrendering ego, they sharpen it. Chosen one, listen carefully. You are not intimidating because you try to dominate. You intimidate because you do not submit. Slaves of the world's opinion cannot understand someone who walks without begging for approval. They thrive on validation and applause. You thrive on purpose and truth. They adapt to fit the crowd. You separate yourself to protect your spirit. You are not afraid to walk alone, and this terrifies them. They mistake your solitude for pride because they cannot imagine standing without a crowd behind them. They fear being forgotten, while you fear forgetting God. Their values are earthly, yours are eternal. Your silence is also powerful. The lost become anxious when they cannot read you. They want to predict you, control you, categorize you, but chosen ones are not predictable. They speak only when necessary. They observe, they evaluate, they discern. You look at a person and see their soul before you see their image. You speak to someone and hear what they don't say. The lost know this instinctively, and it unsettles them. They sense that you can see through them, and they fear being exposed. They would rather push you away than risk you discovering how hollow they truly are. There are those who mistake you for weak because you refuse to argue. They do not understand that the chosen ones do not engage in petty warfare. Your spirit knows which battles are worth fighting and which are traps designed to steal energy. You walk away, not because you are scared, but because you are powerful. The lost confuse destruction with dominance. They think loudness is leadership. They think aggression is strength. They do not know the true meaning of authority. You learn strength in silence, in prayer, in heartbreak, in solitude. They know only imitation. Your journey has refined your aura. When you enter a room, some people instinctively straighten their posture or lower their voice. Their soul recognizes authority long before their ego admits it. Others begin to perform, to impress, to exaggerate who they are, hoping to measure up. These reactions are not random. They are spiritual. Lost souls feel naked in the presence of someone who carries divine identity. They try to mask themselves, or they try to destroy the mirror so they never have to see the truth of who they are. This is also why predators are drawn to you. Manipulators, narcissists, and energy parasites approach you because they think they can consume your light. They are not attracted to your weakness, they are attracted to your strength. They believe if they attach themselves to you, they can feed on you. But once they realize you cannot be controlled, they panic. They turn bitter. They attack. They attempt to sabotage your reputation, your relationships, your peace. They lash out because they are afraid. Nothing frightens a parasite more than a host who refuses to bleed. Your boundaries feel like rejection to the lost, and they cannot handle it. Even your healing intimidates them. They are accustomed to people who stay broken, who cling to pain, who beg for attention. The chosen ones heal and become dangerous. Your ability to rise disarms those who hoped you would stay small. Your resilience exposes their weakness. They resent you because they cannot understand how someone who suffered so much can still walk with dignity. Your existence challenges everything they believed about power. They thought it came from wealth, popularity, or influence. You prove it comes from faith, endurance, and authenticity. Do not try to fix how others perceive you. Their fear is not your responsibility. You are not here to shrink so the lost can feel comfortable. You are not here to dim your light so others don't feel insecure. You are here to walk the path God carved for you. If your presence disturbs them, that is between them and their conscience. A chosen soul was never meant to be palatable to everyone. You are meant to be undeniable. Your power is not loud, but it is undeniable. And when the lost look at you, they do not see a person. They see a destiny they are not ready to face. The moment you realize your power. Chosen one, there comes a season in your journey when the veil lifts, and you finally see yourself as heaven has always seen you. It does not happen in a dramatic flash of lightning, but in a quiet awakening. One day you notice that you are no longer begging for validation, no longer chasing people who do not value your spirit, no longer apologizing for existing. Something within you clicks, and suddenly you understand that every hardship, every wound, every sleepless night was not meant to destroy you, but to reveal who you truly are. This is the moment you step into your power. It is the moment your spirit remembers its origin. You begin to notice subtle shifts. You speak with more clarity, not because you practiced speeches, but because your voice has been purified by truth. You move differently, not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because your soul is no longer carrying the weight of pretending. You were once afraid of being misunderstood, but now you see misunderstanding as confirmation. The chosen do not exist to be accepted by the world. They exist to transform it. When you realize your power, you stop begging to be included, and you start recognizing who deserves access to you. People around you may become uncomfortable. They are used to the older version of you, the version that needed reassurance, that was easily manipulated, that tried to make everyone feel at ease. But that version died in the wilderness of your isolation. The moment you realize your power is the moment you understand that you cannot return to what you outgrew. You cannot go back into cages after you have tasted freedom. You cannot shrink yourself into the armor of someone you no longer are. Heaven has upgraded you, and when heaven upgrades you, the earth reacts. This realization often begins with a simple act. You start saying no. You decline invitations that feel draining. You ignore opinions that do not align with your spirit. You stop explaining yourself to those who were never meant to understand you. You let people misunderstand, misjudge, and mislabel you. Their noise becomes irrelevant because you have finally found your own inner voice. There is a confidence that rises from the ashes of your pain. It is not arrogance. It is recognition. You are awakening to the truth that your soul has whispered for years. You notice how easily you recover now. Once, a single insult would keep you awake at night. One rejection would make you question your worth. One betrayal would shatter your trust. But now those same things barely pierce your armor. You shake them off, not because you no longer feel, but because you finally understand who you are. Life tried to bury you again and again, but you grew from the soil instead of rotting beneath it. You realized that every rock thrown at you became a stepping stone. Every lie told about you became evidence of your impact. Every attack you survived became proof that you are unstoppable. This clarity does something powerful to the chosen. You stop fearing the future. You stop obsessing over outcomes. You stop living in anxiety. You understand that everything aligned to bring you to this moment. The tears, the prayers, the failures, the delays, the heartbreaks, the isolation. None of it was wasted. You see how it strengthened your character, refined your discernment, and sharpened your spirit. You see how God withheld certain people and opportunities because they would have poisoned your path. This understanding gives you peace, and that peace is the ultimate power. There is also a shift in how you see other people. You no longer envy the ones who seem ahead. You no longer compete. You recognize that everyone has their own journey, but the chosen ones walk a higher one. You begin to see jealousy, criticism, and negativity as projections. You do not take offense anymore because you see the pain beneath people's behavior. You carry compassion without attachment, empathy without sacrifice. You stop bleeding to heal others. You stop burning your own spirit to provide light for those who refuse to ignite their own. You understand that you cannot save everyone, and you accept it. When the chosen one realizes their power, they stop negotiating their purpose. Once you may have asked permission to shine. You may have tried to soften your gifts. You may have dimmed your vision because others could not see it. But now you speak boldly. You pursue your calling without hesitation. You stop waiting for approval. You create opportunities instead of waiting for them. You begin to walk with the certainty of someone backed by heaven. Not everyone will support you, but that no longer matters. You no longer ask, "What if I fail?" You ask, "What if I don't try?" A remarkable thing happens when you step into your power. The world changes how it treats you. People who once ignored you suddenly want your attention. They sense your glow, your confidence, your stability. Some approach you with respect, others with curiosity, and many with envy. But none of it moves you. You are no longer thirsty for external recognition. Your validation comes from the divine. The chosen ones do not chase opportunities. Opportunities chase them. You have become the magnet, not the seeker. This realization also reveals your mission. You begin to see why your path was so difficult. You understand why people walked away. You understand why you had to fail first. You see that God could not elevate the old version of you. They were too fragile, too naive, too busy pleasing others. The power inside you needed discipline, maturity, and resilience. Heaven waited until your spirit was stable enough to hold the weight of destiny. Now, when God opens doors, you no longer tremble. You walk through them as someone who knows they belong. Most importantly, you realize your strength was never external. It was never in money, titles, appearance, or status. It was always spiritual. It was in your faith. It was in your endurance. It was in your refusal to give up when life tried to break you. That is the strength that frightens the lost. That is the power that cannot be purchased. The chosen ones do not need protection from the world because they are protected by heaven. You begin to understand that no human being has authority over your destiny. Only God does. There will be a moment, and perhaps you are entering it now, when you look at yourself in the mirror and see the warrior you became. Not the wounded version, not the desperate version, not the scared child, but the one forged in spiritual fire. You no longer recognize the person who once begged for connection, who once chased acceptance, who once feared rejection. You see someone chosen, someone destined, someone rising, and for the first time in your life, you do not apologize for it. You honor it, you embrace it, you walk in it. That is the moment you realize your power, and once you do, you will never return to the shadows you were trained to outgrow. Divine mission and responsibility. Chosen one, the moment you understand the depth of your calling, you begin to see that your life was never about mere survival. You were not placed on this earth to simply exist, work, consume, and die. Your existence carries divine weight, a mission that stretches beyond your individual dreams and desires. The chosen are not born to follow existing paths. They are born to build them where none exist. Every trial you endured was not random, every storm was not accidental, and every loss was not meaningless. Heaven was preparing you for a mission that would impact the lives of others. The world may never comprehend the burdens that shaped you, but heaven watched every step. When God chooses someone, He hides them from the crowd until their purpose is ready to be revealed. Your mission is not about pleasing people or impressing them. It is about revealing truth. The chosen ones are the ones who stand in the gap between heaven and earth. They are messengers, intercessors, protectors of spiritual order. When everyone else bows to darkness, the chosen remain upright. They do not bend to pull others down. They bend only to lift others up. This ability to stand firm in times of chaos is not accidental. It is the product of your spiritual training. The rejection you suffered, the loneliness you endured, and the battles you survived were not punishments. They were preparation for your role. God uses pressure to shape diamonds, silence to sharpen prophets, and isolation to form leaders. Your mission comes with responsibility. Many people want to be chosen because they think it means favor, blessings, and elevation. They dream of glory, but they do not understand the sacrifice required to hold divine authority. To carry God's message is to walk paths others fear. It is to speak truth when silence would be easier. It is to protect the spiritually blind even when they mock you. The chosen ones are not loved by the world, they are necessary to it. Their purpose is not to be comfortable, but to be transformational. When you carry light, darkness will always oppose you. When you carry truth, deception will always try to silence you. But the chosen do not retreat. They are guided not by impulse, but by divine instruction. You may not have fully realized it yet, but people already look at you differently. They come to you when they need comfort, when they need clarity, when they need strength. They may not call you a leader, but they treat you like one. They trust you with their deepest wounds, their fears, their anxieties. You did not ask for this responsibility, but your spirit naturally embraces it. There is wisdom in your eyes they cannot explain, a calmness in your voice that reassures them, a presence that makes the broken feel safe. This is part of your divine mission. You are not just here to heal yourself, you are here to heal others through the strength you gained. But be careful. Healing others does not mean sacrificing yourself. Many chosen ones fall into the trap of thinking their responsibility is to save everyone. They try to lift those who refuse to climb, comfort those who choose chaos, guide those who mock guidance. Not everyone is ready to receive your light. Some will take advantage of your generosity. Others will drain your energy, mistaking vulnerability for weakness. Your mission requires discernment. You must know who is ready and who is not. You are not called to heal the world. You are called to influence the ones receptive to your voice. God will send you to the right souls when the time is right. Your responsibility is not to force revelation, but to deliver it when the Spirit calls. One of your greatest responsibilities as a chosen one is protecting your spirit. The world will attempt to corrupt you, distract you, or tempt you into abandoning your purpose. You will encounter opportunities that glitter, friendships that flatter, and voices that promise comfort. But chosen ones do not make decisions based on comfort. They make them based on calling. You must constantly ask yourself, is this aligned with God's purpose for me? The enemy does not try to destroy the weak, he tries to weaken the strong. When your destiny is high, your temptations will be strategic. This is why discipline is essential. The chosen ones cannot afford to live carelessly. Your mission requires vigilance, humility, prayer, and constant alignment with heaven. You may wonder why God did not choose someone stronger or smarter or more influential, but God never chooses the obvious. He chooses the willing. He chooses the faithful. He chooses those who have known suffering because suffering produces compassion. The chosen do not simply preach truth, they embody it. Your pain became testimony. Your loneliness became clarity. Your failures became wisdom. God does not place the mission in the hands of the comfortable. He gives it to the broken who survived, to the shattered who rebuilt themselves, to the rejected who found identity in Him. You are not chosen because you are perfect. You are chosen because you are obedient. Your responsibility also includes accountability. You must hold yourself to a higher standard than those around you. You cannot engage in the same petty conflicts, gossip, or jealousy that consume the masses. You are not allowed to live by instinct alone. You live by revelation. Your actions, your words, and your presence carry spiritual consequences. You are watched not just by people, but by forces in the unseen realm. Heaven expects integrity, humility, and endurance. Your mission cannot be accomplished through ego or reactivity. It must be accomplished through discipline and grace. As you step deeper into your divine purpose, you will encounter resistance. This resistance is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of activation. When you begin to walk in destiny, the world will feel threatened. Some will try to silence you, others will try to discredit you. Some will challenge your authority, not because you are wrong, but because your truth exposes their deception. The chosen must understand that opposition is a compass. If no one challenges you, you are not walking in power. If everyone understands you, you are not speaking from heaven. The chosen are not celebrated in the beginning, they are mocked until their results become undeniable. A divine mission requires endurance. You will be misunderstood, isolated, doubted, perhaps even betrayed. But every chosen one reaches a moment where the suffering makes sense. You begin to realize that everything you lost was making space for everything heaven promised. The blessings you prayed for were delayed because you were not ready to receive them. The people you loved were removed because they would not survive your elevation. Your weaknesses were exposed so God could strengthen them. The divine mission is not given to those who run from the fire. It is given to those who walk through it and emerge with faith intact. Eventually, you will understand that your life is not small. Your voice is not insignificant. Your path is not random. You were born to disrupt traditions, to break cycles, to challenge spiritual darkness. You were born to be light in places where no light exists. Responsibility does not weigh you down. It crowns you. You do not carry it because heaven forced you. You carry it because your soul agreed to it long before you entered this world. The chosen ones do not escape destiny. They rise into it. And now, chosen one, you are entering that rise. Conclusion. Chosen one, your journey has not been easy, and it was never meant to be. You were forged in silence, trained in isolation, and sculpted through storms, so that when you stand before the world, you stand unshaken. Everything you endured, every rejection, every betrayal, every night spent in tears, was heaven's way of preparing you for the mission that only you could carry. You are no longer the fragile soul who once questioned why life seemed so heavy. You are the warrior who survived every weight and learned to turn pain into purpose. You did not realize how strong you had become because God strengthened you while you were busy surviving. Now you step into a new season. You no longer walk as someone seeking permission or validation. You walk as someone chosen, someone assigned, someone who has seen darkness and refused to bow to it. This is your moment of awakening. Do not shrink yourself to comfort others. Do not silence your voice to avoid confrontation. Your spirit was designed to disrupt what is false and elevate what is true. Rise boldly into who you are becoming. If this message has reached your spirit, subscribe to Rise of the Chosen, tap the bell icon, and share this video with those who walk the divine path. Heaven has spoken to you today. Listen closely. Your story is not ending, it is just beginning.